Life doesn't change overnight, it changes over time. It's not the big leaps, it's the small, consistent steps that turn ordinary people into extraordinary ones. Most people wait for the perfect moment, the big break, the lightning strike of inspiration. But success doesn't work like that. It begins quietly in the small corners of your daily routine, in the decisions you make when no one is watching. It begins when you decide to read 10 pages of a book instead of scrolling your phone. It begins when you wake up 10 minutes earlier to plan your day instead of rushing through it. It begins when you write one goal down and decide to take one small action toward it. You see, those little habits seem insignificant in the moment, but over time, they form the foundation of a completely different life. People underestimate the power of small actions because they don't give instant results. A single push up doesn't transform your body. One day of saving doesn't make you rich. One act of kindness doesn't make the world peaceful. But stack those up, repeat them day after day, and you'll see the compound effect take over. It's like planting seeds. You water them daily, even when nothing seems to be growing. Then one day, the roots break through, and suddenly, everything changes. The problem is, most people stop watering before the magic happens. Jim Rohn once said, "Success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines, practiced every day." That's the truth. Your life changes when your habits change. If you change your daily disciplines, you change your destiny. A little discipline in reading builds a wise mind. A little discipline in saving builds financial freedom. A little discipline in exercise builds confidence and energy. A little discipline in gratitude builds joy. You don't need to start big, you just need to start small. But stay consistent, because in the end, it's not what you do once that matters. It's what you do every single day, even when no one claps for you, even when it feels like nothing's changing. The small things eventually become the big things. The moment you repeat a tiny action daily, you begin to build momentum, and momentum is a force far stronger than motivation. Motivation gets you started, but momentum keeps you moving when the excitement fades. Think of a snowball rolling down a hill. It begins small, almost invisible, but as it rolls, it gathers weight, speed, and power. That's what habits do. They start as something you do, but soon they become part of who you are. When you build good habits, you no longer fight with yourself to do the right thing. It becomes automatic, natural, and almost effortless. But here's the tricky part: bad habits grow the same way. Neglect is easy, laziness is easy. Complaining is easy, but so is discipline, so is gratitude, so is effort, if you just choose it daily. The difference between success and failure often lies in what you choose to do with your next 5 minutes. Will you use them to drift or to build? To escape or to grow? Every tiny decision you make adds a brick to the structure of your life. And if you don't design that structure consciously, you'll end up living by accident instead of intention. Imagine someone decides to read 10 pages a day. In 1 year, that's over 600 pages, more than a dozen life-changing books. Another person watches 1 extra hour of TV a day. In 1 year, that's over 365 hours gone. Same 24 hours, different results. One builds a future, the other wastes one. That's how life works. Small choices repeated lead to massive differences over time. And once you taste the fruit of consistency, you'll never want to go back, because you'll realize that progress feels better than comfort. That discipline feels better than regret, and that small daily victories build self-respect, and self-respect builds everything else. You can't control the future, but you can control your habits, and your habits will build your future. Every day, you're either designing your life or drifting through it. The great ones, the fulfilled ones, the people who leave something meaningful behind, they all have one thing in common: they live by design, not by default. They understand that big dreams are just small habits done consistently over time. You can't wish your way to a better life. You build it one small action at a time. The secret is to make your habits align with your values and your vision. Don't just form habits for the sake of productivity. Form habits that move you closer to the person you want to become. If you want to be a leader, start by building the habit of listening, of showing up prepared, of thinking before you speak. If you want wealth, build the habit of managing money wisely, of learning daily, of investing instead of spending. If you want happiness, build the habit of gratitude, of kindness, of appreciation. Because you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your habits. Your habits are your invisible architects. They're designing your health, your mindset, your relationships, your future. Every repeated action sends a message to your brain. This is who I am. When you start making your bed, your brain says, I'm someone who takes care of things. When you start exercising, your brain says, I'm someone who keeps promises to myself. When you write your goals daily, your brain says, I'm someone who lives with purpose. Bit by bit, these small victories compound into a new identity, and identity drives behavior far more powerfully than willpower ever could. So, if you want a better life, stop chasing big changes and start cultivating small disciplines. A small shift in your routine can cause a massive shift in your results. 1 degree of change in your daily direction can completely alter your destination in a year. The little things aren't little. They're the roots that hold up everything else. The secret is to treat every small action like it matters, because it does. When you do, the world begins to change, quietly at first and then all at once. Life is not transformed by one big moment. It's shaped by the quiet, consistent moments that no one sees. The world often talks about big leaps, big dreams, big victories. But the truth is, those grand results are simply the harvest of small, unseen efforts. You don't become successful in a single day. You become successful little by little through the small disciplines that compound over time. Most people want to change their life overnight, but that's not how life works. You plant a seed today, you water it tomorrow, and you keep nurturing it when there's no sign of growth. That's how transformation begins. Through tiny little habits that seem insignificant in the moment, but become powerful over time. Think about it. Success is never about doing one thing perfectly. It's about doing small things consistently. You don't get fit by going to the gym for 10 hours once. You get fit by going every day for 30 minutes. You don't become wise by reading one book. You become wise by reading 10 pages daily, by feeding your mind with new thoughts, new ideas, new perspectives. You don't build a strong relationship by one grand gesture. You build it through daily appreciation, small acts of love, little moments of connection. You don't change your life by wishing. You change it by creating habits that reflect your desires. Every great success story is built on a series of small, often boring daily disciplines that few people see and even fewer are willing to do. Jim Rohn said, "Success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines practiced every day." Just a few simple disciplines. But the key is in the everyday. Because what you do occasionally doesn't shape your life. What you do consistently does. Your habits are like the compass of your destiny. They quietly steer you toward success or drift you toward failure. You can't always control what happens around you, but you can always control what happens within you. And that control starts with your daily habits. If your days are filled with small disciplines, your future will be filled with big rewards. But if your days are filled with neglect, distraction, and excuses, your future will be filled with regret. The difference between the person who succeeds and the one who doesn't isn't talent. It's habits. It's the small daily decisions that no one celebrates. It's the person who writes 1 page a day, while others say, I'll start next week. It's the person who saves a few dollars every day while others spend carelessly. It's the person who chooses to learn for 15 minutes daily while others waste that time scrolling through noise. The successful person isn't necessarily smarter. They're just more consistent. They've learned the power of small beginnings. Let's take a simple example. Imagine you start reading 10 pages a day. That's about 15 minutes of your time. Doesn't sound like much, right? But in a year, you'll have read more than 600 pages. That's over a dozen books. And those books could change your thinking, your confidence, your skills, your decisions, and ultimately your results. Or imagine you start saving just 1% of your income. You might think it's too small to matter, but as you stay consistent, that 1% turns into 10, then 20. Eventually, that habit could bring you financial peace while others are still chasing money. The power is not in the size of the habit. It's in the repetition. Small disciplines repeated with consistency lead to greatness, while small errors repeated with neglect lead to disaster. That's why Jim Rohn said, "An apple a day keeps the doctor away." But skip it long enough, and you'll learn the cost of neglect. The same applies to your dreams, your health, your relationships. If you neglect them long enough, they decay. If you feed them daily, they flourish. You don't need to overhaul your life in one sweep. You just need to start with one habit, one step, one change. One small act of discipline can set a new course for your entire life. You see, small habits are like compound interest. They build slowly, quietly, invisibly, and then one day the results explode before your eyes. That's why you must not underestimate the power of what seems insignificant. When you wake up 10 minutes earlier to plan your day, when you choose to express gratitude before complaining, when you take a few minutes to reflect instead of rushing, those are not small things. Those are powerful shifts that multiply over time. The problem is, most people don't see the result fast enough, so they quit too soon. They go to the gym for a week, see no change, and give up. They start journaling for a few days, feel no difference, and stop. They save for a month, see no growth, and spend it. But the truth is, growth is silent before it's visible. The roots grow before the fruits appear. The foundation builds before the structure rises. You must trust the process long enough for the results to show. Patience is the price of progress. When you commit to small habits, you start building self-respect. Every small win tells your mind, I can be trusted. I keep my promises. I follow through. That self-trust becomes the backbone of confidence. And that confidence becomes the engine of your future. Every small act of discipline strengthens your identity, and soon you no longer need to force yourself. You simply become the kind of person who does it naturally. That's the beauty of small habits. They change you from the inside out. You stop chasing motivation and start building momentum. You stop waiting for inspiration and start taking action. Because it's never about what you can do once. It's about what you're willing to do daily. The difference between the ordinary and the extraordinary lies in those small, often invisible choices that compound into massive results. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, growth over ease, consistency over excuses, you're rewriting the story of your life. And one day, when people look at your success, they'll call it a big change. But you'll know it was made from 1,000 tiny habits that started long ago, one small step at a time. The beauty of life lies in its rhythm, in the quiet beat of repetition that slowly turns effort into excellence. When you do something small every single day, you begin to create momentum, and momentum is the silent force that makes the impossible achievable. You see, motivation is a spark. It gets you started, but it fades. Momentum is the engine. It keeps you going long after the excitement wears off. The person who learns to build momentum through small habits becomes unstoppable because they no longer depend on fleeting emotion. They rely on daily discipline. Imagine a snowball rolling down a hill. At first, it's tiny, almost unnoticeable. But as it keeps rolling, it gathers more snow, grows heavier, and picks up speed until it becomes an unstoppable force. That's what habits do to your life. You start small, a 5-minute workout, a short reading session, a few notes of gratitude. But as you repeat these tiny actions, they gain power. What was once effort becomes identity. You no longer have to push yourself. The habit starts pulling you. The rhythm takes over. And that's when real change begins. The danger, however, is that this same principle applies to bad habits. Neglect grows. 2. Laziness compounds. 1 skipped workout becomes 2. 1 missed day of saving turns into a pattern of spending. 1 moment of procrastination turns into a lifestyle of delay. Small errors in judgment, repeated every day, eventually lead to disaster. That's why Jim Rohn said, failure is simply a few errors in judgment repeated every day. The same power that can make you successful can also destroy your potential. The difference lies in your direction. Every small choice either builds you or breaks you, moves you closer to your goals or further away. You don't need to make perfect decisions every day. You just need to make the right ones consistently. A person who reads 10 pages a day becomes a scholar over time, while someone who spends that same time scrolling social media gains nothing but distraction. A person who saves a little money daily builds freedom, while someone who spends it impulsively builds debt. The small things matter, not because of their size, but because of their repetition. Over time, the difference between 2 people's habits becomes the difference between 2 completely different lives. Think of it this way. Every habit you repeat sends a message to your future. Each time you show up, you tell the universe, I'm serious about my growth. Each time you choose discipline over comfort, you strengthen the muscle of consistency. And once that muscle grows strong enough, you begin to move through life with ease. You no longer struggle to make the right choice because it becomes second nature. You become someone who naturally reads, who naturally saves, who naturally works out, who naturally learns. And when your habits become part of your identity, your success becomes inevitable. Consistency doesn't demand perfection, it demands persistence. You'll have days when you don't feel like doing it, when progress feels invisible, when life gets noisy and motivation slips away. But the secret is to keep going anyway. Because consistency is not about doing everything perfectly, it's about never giving up on your process. It's showing up even when you don't see results, even when no one applauds, even when you're tired of waiting. That's where strength is built, not in the moments of excitement, but in the quiet moments of endurance. Most people fail not because they lack potential, but because they stop too soon. They underestimate how close they are to a breakthrough. They get discouraged when progress isn't visible, forgetting that growth often happens underground. A seed doesn't sprout the day it's planted, it grows roots first. The same goes for your efforts. The days you see nothing changing are often the days your foundation is forming. Keep watering the seed. The tree will rise when it's ready. Once you taste the power of consistency, your relationship with effort changes. You begin to realize that the real reward isn't the outcome. It's the growth you experience along the way. Every day you show up, you build resilience, self-respect, and control over your life. You stop living on emotional highs and lows and start living with quiet confidence. You understand that discipline feels better than regret, that progress feels better than excuses, that a small victory every day is more valuable than one giant success followed by failure. Consistency turns effort into identity. When you keep doing something long enough, you stop asking, how do I stay motivated? And start saying, this is just who I am. That's when you unlock real power. The reader doesn't need motivation to read. Reading is who they are. The athlete doesn't need motivation to train. Training is part of them. The saver doesn't need motivation to manage money. Saving is what they do. You build that identity through repetition, by showing up when it's easy and when it's not. And the truth is, consistency compounds, not just in results, but in mindset. Every time you keep your word to yourself, you build self-trust. You start to believe in your ability to follow through. That belief spills into every part of your life, your work, your relationships, your confidence. You begin to think, if I can keep this promise, I can keep any promise. That's the foundation of character. That's the foundation of greatness. Life is built in the small spaces between days. In those little moments when no one's watching, when the world is quiet, when you make a choice to stay true to your routine. The more you do it, the more momentum you create, and soon that momentum carries you to places motivation never could. The hardest part is always the beginning, because starting requires willpower. But once you've built the habit, it's no longer hard, it's automatic. And that's the beauty of it. You build a system that carries you even when you don't feel like being carried. Jim Rohn used to say, for things to change, you have to change. For things to get better, you have to get better. And the way you get better is by doing small things, better and better, day after day. Because success is not a one-time act, it's a lifetime of habits stacked together. The person you become is built on what you repeatedly do. And every day you practice those tiny habits, you're writing a new story. One page, one sentence, one word at a time. Until one day, the small things you started doing turn into the big life you always dreamed of living. Every single day, you are either consciously designing your life or unconsciously drifting through it. The truth is, no one ends up successful by accident. You don't stumble into greatness, happiness, or fulfillment. You build it one small, intentional habit at a time. The future is not written by fate. It's written by your daily routines, by what you choose to do, to think, to believe, and to practice. The people who achieve something extraordinary in life are not born with a different destiny. They simply choose to take small, deliberate actions that align with who they want to become. They live by design, not by default. Big dreams don't demand big actions, they demand consistent ones. You can't wish your way into a better life. You must build it. You build it through small habits that move you closer to your vision. Because every time you perform a small discipline, you're not just doing something, you're becoming someone. You're shaping your identity. You're molding your future. If you want to live with purpose, your habits must reflect that purpose. The gap between who you are and who you want to be is closed by what you repeatedly do. Success and fulfillment are never random. They're the result of habits that align with values. If you want to be a leader, then start building the habits of a leader. Showing up early, listening more than speaking, preparing before acting, and leading by example. If you want to be financially free, you build the habits of discipline, saving, investing, and learning. If you want to be at peace, you form the habits of gratitude, reflection, forgiveness, and simplicity. These small, daily acts may not look glamorous, but they are the bricks of a well-designed life. Most people wait for the perfect moment, thinking, once I have more time, more money, more motivation, then I'll start. But the truth is, the moment you start, that's when the magic begins. You don't need to do everything, you just need to start with something. The secret is to begin where you are, with what you have, and commit to small, repeatable steps. Because consistency creates clarity. When you start taking small actions, you begin to see patterns, progress, and possibility. That's when momentum takes over. Your habits are like invisible architects. They're constantly designing your destiny, even when you're not aware of it. Every repeated action sends a message to your brain about who you are becoming. When you start organizing your desk, your brain says, I'm someone who values order. When you start exercising, your brain says, I'm someone who honors discipline. When you start reading daily, your brain says, I'm someone who invests in knowledge. These small confirmations shape your identity, and your identity becomes the most powerful force in your behavior. Because people don't act according to what they want. They act according to who they believe they are. The moment you shift your habits, you start shifting your identity. And when your identity changes, your future changes automatically. That's why small habits matter so much. They don't just create results, they create identity. When you keep your promises to yourself, you build integrity. When you honor your commitments, you build trust. And when you build trust in yourself, you start doing bigger things because you know you can count on you. Self-trust is the foundation of self-mastery. And self-mastery is the foundation of greatness. You don't need to wait for a breakthrough. Your habits are your breakthrough. You don't need to find motivation. Your discipline creates motivation. You don't need to dream harder. You need to act smarter, smaller, and more consistently. A tiny shift in your daily direction can completely alter your destination over time. If you walk 1 degree off course, you might not notice it today, but travel long enough, and you'll end up miles away from where you intended to be. That's how powerful habits are. They can either guide you to success or drift you into regret. The world loves the idea of sudden success, overnight fame, instant fortune, dramatic transformation. But real success is quiet, slow, and unglamorous. It's built in early mornings, late nights, repeated effort, and disciplined focus. The great achievers of history didn't rely on random bursts of inspiration. They relied on daily structure. They understood that the small, uncelebrated habits are the true currency of greatness. They didn't wait for opportunity. They prepared for it every day through consistent effort. Every habit is a vote for the person you want to become. Every time you choose effort over excuse, you cast a vote for your future self. Every time you choose learning over laziness, you invest in your own evolution. Every time you choose gratitude over complaint, you build a stronger mindset. It's not about perfection, it's about direction. And if you keep moving in the right direction, even slowly, you'll eventually arrive where you were meant to be. You can't rise higher than your habits allow. If your habits are small, your results will be small. But if your habits are intentional, strong, and consistent, they'll carry you beyond what you once thought possible. That's the secret of growth. Small hinges swing big doors. A few small disciplined actions can open unimaginable possibilities. The difference between success and mediocrity often lies in what you do during the quiet hours, when no one is watching, when it would be easy to quit. That's where character is formed, and character is destiny. You don't have to rebuild your entire life overnight. You only need to make one small improvement each day. Read 1 page, save $1, walk 1 mile, speak 1 kind word, do 1 small thing that moves you forward. These small acts compound like interest in a bank account, growing stronger each day. In a year, you'll look back and barely recognize the person you used to be. The power of habit isn't in how fast you move, it's in how long you stay consistent. When you live with intention, every small habit becomes a tool for transformation. You realize that the difference between an ordinary life and an extraordinary one isn't luck, talent, or opportunity. It's design. You don't wait for things to change. You change your approach to things. You don't react to life, you create it. And that creation begins in the smallest moments, in what you choose to do every single day. Because while big dreams give you direction, it's the small habits that give you movement. And over time, that movement turns into momentum. That momentum turns into mastery, and that mastery becomes the life you were always meant to live. Let me tell you something powerful. Your life is waiting for you to take charge. Not tomorrow, not next week, not when things calm down, but right now. Because right now is the moment where transformation begins. You've heard it said, small things don't matter. But that's a lie. The small things, F, are the big things. The habits you repeat daily are the invisible threads weaving your destiny. They decide whether your future becomes a masterpiece or a regret. Every action you take is a vote for the kind of person you want to become. So the question is, who are you voting for today? The person who rises early, takes control, and builds something meaningful. Or the one who hits snooze, scrolls aimlessly, and promises, I'll start tomorrow. Because the truth is, every tomorrow you waste turns into another yesterday you can't get back. You don't need a perfect plan. You don't need a lucky break. You need a decision. A small, firm decision that says, enough waiting, enough excuses, I'm starting now. You see, success doesn't visit the ones who wish. It visits the ones who work. It comes quietly, disguised as small efforts done consistently. Every morning you wake up earlier than your excuses. Every time you choose focus over distraction. Every time you choose discipline over comfort. You're changing your life in ways you can't yet see. It may not look like much today, but one day you'll wake up and realize how far you've come. The small seeds you've been planting will have turned into forests of results. But you must decide. Decide to show up. Decide to practice daily disciplines that may seem small, but have the power to rewrite your story. Jim Rohn once said, if you want life to change, you have to change. And how do you change? Not by doing everything at once. By changing your habits. You don't change your life by making declarations. You change it by making adjustments. A small adjustment in how you start your day. A small adjustment in how you use your time. A small adjustment in how you treat yourself and others. Those adjustments compound, quietly, consistently, powerfully. So let's get real. You want a better body? Don't wait for the perfect gym or the perfect program. Start by doing push-ups in your room. You want more knowledge. Don't wait for college or the right time. Start by reading 5 pages a day. You want to build wealth. Don't wait for a miracle. Start by saving the next dollar instead of spending it. You want peace. Start by practicing gratitude, even for the smallest things. Because you'll never reach big results if you keep ignoring small beginnings. Do you know why most people fail? It's not because they can't dream big. It's because they can't stay small long enough to grow. They want the results without the repetition, the glory without the grind, the success without the system. But life doesn't work that way. The universe rewards discipline. It honors consistency. It recognizes those who show up daily and say, I'll do what I can with what I have from where I am. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to move fast. You just have to move forward, inch by inch, step by step. Because small progress is still progress. And when small progress compounds, it becomes unstoppable momentum. 1 degree of change in your habits today can completely alter your destination a year from now. Think about it. 1 small shift in attitude, 1 small step in action, 1 small change in routine, and suddenly your life begins to evolve. Slowly at first, then all at once. The people who achieve greatness aren't born different. They just choose differently. While others waste time talking about change, they're busy building it. While others wait for motivation, they rely on discipline. While others complain about problems, they practice solutions. And while others look for shortcuts, they stick to habits. They know something most people forget. What you do daily matters more than what you do occasionally. You must stop chasing motivation and start cultivating discipline. Motivation will get you out of bed once. Discipline will keep you getting up every day. Motivation will inspire you for a moment. Discipline will transform you for a lifetime. Because discipline is love. Love for your future self, love for your potential, love for the life you're capable of creating. And yes, it's hard. It's hard to stay consistent when no one notices. It's hard to keep showing up when results are slow. It's hard to do the right thing when comfort is calling your name. But you must remember, the pain of discipline weighs ounces. The pain of regret weighs tons. Choose your pain wisely. Every time you choose discipline, you lighten the load of regret. Every time you choose consistency, you strengthen the foundation of your success. There will come a day when you'll look back at this season, at the small, seemingly unimportant things you did, and you'll smile, because you'll realize that those tiny habits were the turning points of your destiny. The mornings you woke up early, the days you didn't quit, the moments you chose growth instead of comfort. They were building you. They were preparing you for something bigger than you could see. So don't give up now. Don't underestimate the power of the small. Don't wait for perfect conditions. Create them through your actions. Life rewards the persistent, the patient, and the prepared. If you keep doing the small things right, big things will start happening at the right time. Let your habits be louder than your words. Let your actions prove your intentions. Let your consistency become your confidence. Wake up each day and ask yourself, what small thing can I do today that my future self will thank me for? Then do it again and again until it becomes your identity. Because when your habits align with your vision, you become unstoppable. The small daily disciplines you practice are not just routines. They are declarations of who you are becoming. They are the bridge between your dreams and your destiny. And one day, when others call it luck, you'll know it wasn't luck at all. It was you. It was every small decision, every quiet effort, every daily discipline that built the life you once only imagined. So stand tall, look at your future, and say with conviction, I may start small, but I won't stay small. I may begin quietly, but I will finish loudly. My habits will shape my destiny. My discipline will define my journey, and my consistency will build the life I deserve.